I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpn.fm to discover more.
There's a cat over here. There's a cat over there. And the wrong one died. And the wrong one died.
Welcome to The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. I'm your host, Mike Abrams, and today we have another amazing guest. He's been in a wide array of Cats productions, including credits in the 2019 movie and as Macavity in a very unique production. But most recently, he was a swing on the international tour. So welcome, Aaron Jenkins, and thank you for joining me.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I liked, before we started, you called this the cat trick. As a hockey player, I'm a fan of that.
I always say that because I don't think there are probably many people in the world, if anyone else, that can say that. So I wear that badge of honor.
Yeah, so I'm excited because I've talked to a few of your castmates from the tour.
Yes.
From the international tour. And I've talked to a few people from the movie here and there, from the 2019 movie. I'm fascinated by everything I've read about this, was it Kilworth House Theatre production?
Yeah.
We're going to get into all of them, but before we do, we got to start always with your cat's introduction. So when was the first time you saw it? What was your history with cats before 2019?
So like everyone, the VHS. I remember my nan, when she was alive, I used to sit on her lap in front of the TV, and she had the Andrew Lloyd Webber, Joseph, Cats, and might have been Jesus Christ Superstar. But I just always loved Cats, was fascinated by it long before I even got into dancing or anything, because I didn't start dancing until I was about 13 properly. And then once I got into dancing, I just remember it came flooding back from all those years ago, and I'd sat on my nan's lap and watched it, and I've just always been obsessed and always wanted to be in it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a long time.
So you watched as a kid. You were that, you grew up with that VHS.
Yeah.
And then did you get the call for the movie first? That's the first one you get?
So I then, when I was at, while I was training professionally in my first year, I went to see, there was the UK tour happening.
Yeah.
So I went with my friend from Swindon. We went not far in Oxford to see the show, and I loved it. And then in my second year, maybe, it was on at the London Palladium, and I went again. I think I actually went with a group of friends as a birthday trip. Everyone else wanted to go clubbing. I wanted to go and watch Cats at the London Palladium. And loved it again. And then I'd auditioned a couple of times, in my early years out of college, but kind of had never worked out. And then, the Cats movie came about. It was so crazy. I'd finished another job. I'd been working in Germany. I'd been back maybe 2 weeks, and my agent phoned and said, "Are you free tomorrow? You have an audition. They're going to pick you up from this venue." Drove us there. This was on the Thursday. So they did a big audition, cut us down right down to 10 people by the end. And then on the Friday, I remember I'm sat eating my cornflakes, and my agent phones and they said, "You got the job. You start on Monday."
Wow.
And I vividly remember, because it had been a dream forever, sat with my bowl of cornflakes on the sofa crying. It was pretty crazy. And then started on the Monday and worked on it for 6 months. Yeah.
6 months. Okay. So this is at this point, because you're credited as the Cats chorus, which is, I believe, you're dancing and singing kind of in the background of all the different productions, but not named, right?
Yeah, it was an interesting process. They had started production with Wayne McGregor as the choreographer. Mm-hmm. But he left for whatever reason, I'm not actually sure. And then they brought Andy Blankenbuehler on. And so when he joined, he basically said, "Fine, but I want to audition some of my own dancers," because he hadn't cast anyone in it up to that point.
Yeah.
And up to that point, there was it was such an array of people. It was B-boys, people from the Royal Ballet, capoeira artists, all these amazing skills, but not necessarily what you'd think of as Cats. Whereas Andy Blankenbuehler is like musical theatre jazz to his core. So I think he was like, I can do my best for these people, but I need some of my own dancers. So yeah, then we joined, and actually I was quite lucky because I was one of the few cast by Andy. They kind of did it on a number by number basis, kind of chose who they were going to use for the upcoming numbers. And I ended up getting used for so much of it because I was one of the people he cast. So yeah, it was really cool, but it was hard work.
Yeah. So tell me what the experience is like for the movie, because when you do a production, you obviously go through the lore and the Felinity School and all the stuff that goes into what you did on the international tour to prep for that.
Yeah.
What goes into the movie version of this, where it is such a different production style and like, you know, you're getting cut into different scenes. Like how much of that did you go into? Like, I'm assuming there's no cast, like you didn't sit down with Taylor Swift and Idris Elba and like talked about the story. I doubt. So
No.
What was that like?
No, I mean, you say that, but there were moments we would do what we'd call cat school. Wonderful lady called Sarah, who is kind of very similar to when you join the show, actually, how Chrissie does. She was employed to basically study cats, how they move, and get us moving like that. So we did a lot of cat school, and sometimes those people would be in there, like Jason Derulo would just be crawling around in the corner. It was truly bizarre. But as far as story goes, yeah, you're right. There wasn't much. We never really spoke about the through line of the musical. It was just on the day the choreography had been set, and they would shape the story, I guess, through editing and however that goes.
Yeah. What's like some of the crazy memories you have from doing that? Like just from being in that whole experience?
Yeah. There was one when we were filming part of the Jellicle ball, because you can sit for hours. If they've turned the camera the other way, you're sat for hours not in shot doing nothing. And there was just one shot where a few of us were kind of around by Ian McKellen. And they needed to do this shot, but it literally involved maybe like 5 or 6 of us. So they broke everyone else for lunch, asked us to stay. We were dancing in the background, but while they were setting up cameras and stuff, I was just sat chatting to him. And he is such a lovely man. He was so fascinating. And it was just before he was about to do one of his one-man tours. And he was like, oh, do you mind if I do some of my material on you? And I was like, oh my God, of course. And my friend Neve Morgan, who played Rob Batista in the movie, I went to college with her. And I know she loved him. So I was like, Neve, give me
Skip lunch and come right now.
Literally. So like just moments like that where I'm like, I just sat for an hour or two and just chatted to Ian McKellen. I remember we filmed on Valentine's Day maybe, and we must have been doing Tugger or something that Jason Derulo was in. And on the lunch break, he'd hired this like pancake waffle van for the break to lift everyone's spirits or whatever. And I've got videos of, because I liked my food, when they said break, I was the first in line up to the pancake van. And for the behind the scenes and stuff, they filmed Jason making pancakes. So he made me a waffle. Jason Derulo made me a nice waffle on Valentine's Day. Like,
wow,
just really surreal moments where I would like have to check myself. And I sat literally at the feet of Jennifer Hudson while she sang Memory over and over and over again. And it was like, I remember once after we did a take, Tom Hooper was like, guys, I'm going to need you to stop crying on the floor because I can't use footage, because we're all sat like sobbing because it was so crazy. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. I do want to hear a little bit about the after though, because, you know, obviously this movie had an interesting release and there was some stuff with, you know, the timing and the hands and some of the editing and, but what was it like for you? I mean, obviously it's an incredible opportunity, incredible moment in your career. Yeah. And then you're bringing your family and friends, I'm sure, to see this, but what was that part like of that process?
It was so weird because before we'd finished filming, maybe in the last couple of weeks, they put together like a mock trailer. And we all went into the little cinema at the Warner Brothers studios and sat and watched it. And it was like the cinematography and the talent that was in that movie. It was so fantastic. And we were still in our unitards and had dots on our faces in this trailer. But it was so good. And like, because it looks like it's green screen. They were all these amazing sets that had been built that we were on, like curbs that were up high that we had to jump onto, and this long road in one of the sets on that. I remember it being off to L stage. But it was just, so it looked amazing on this screen, and we were like, wow, this is going to be fantastic. And then, I mean, this is not to say it didn't have its issues along those 6 months. It was hard, and there were obviously like creative headbutting going on. I think I was one of the more positive people. I was just so happy to be there, and I made some amazing friends. But right up to the end, like, people were leaving and saying, I'm sure Andy had to go back to New York and they still hadn't filmed. So they were like still filming on the day we had our wrap party with the cockroaches in one of the numbers. And then that was in March. And I think the idea that it was then going to come out in December was a bit like, oh, that seems a bit quick.
Yeah.
And then I randomly did a promo thing. I assisted Ellen Kane, who was Andy's associate on the movie. I assisted her to do this YouTube thing with some influencers. And because I did that, I got to see a version of the movie of how it was at that time. It was maybe a month before it was released. And so that was when I first saw it. We'd seen the trailer by then, and it was really exciting. And I sat down, I remember sitting at that little cinema screen and thinking, okay. And then I was like, but maybe it's not finished. And then I was like, we've only got a month until it releases, though. So it was interesting. But I mean, I was still excited that I was in this Cats movie. And I think some of it, like some of the stuff that was filmed really early, like Mungo and Rump and Gus, I think because they had the time, because they'd already started doing the CGI and stuff while we were still filming, some of the close-ups of like when Ian McKellen is singing Gus is incredible. Like the way you can see his fur move in the breeze and stuff, it is unreal. And that's the bits that I was like, oh, this is going to be really special. It's when you see the opening, which actually was the last group ensemble number we filmed, which is how the movie starts, unfortunately, when it looks like people are floating in midair and people's hands and feet are too long for it. Those are the bits that you go, I think had they released it maybe the following December, I think it could have been quite good. But yeah, my opinion is, if it wasn't going to be the best movie musical ever made, it might as well be what people say, quote unquote, is the worst.
It's fun to look at it in hindsight too.
Yeah.
And I'm sure from your experience doing it, like you said, you had probably this amazing time filming it and being part of it.
Yeah.
My biggest gripe, I actually think the movie, I'm not as critical as most people of the movie.
Yeah.
I think that some of the stuff is comical. I think there were some decisions that like make it kind of interesting, like using Victoria as a through line to understand the story when it's, it's a difficult. Not everyone's like me who's watched and recorded 200 plus episodes of talking to people doing it. Yeah. You need some of that. So I wasn't that upset about that stuff. What bothered me actually most is when I was prepping for this and I tried to watch, I was trying to find you. The way it's edited and cut, it does not do any of the dancers justice, I think. No. And I think that's part of where to me, some of the strength was. There's such talent. There's incredible choreography. Yeah. It's a dance-heavy musical. Yeah. And the way that it was jumping around so much, I kind of got lost at moments where I'm like, I wanted to see what they were doing. But then all of a sudden they went from the bottom left of my screen to the top right of my screen to not on my screen to back on the screen. And I'm like, I think if someone just zoomed out and filmed some of that movie without all the movement, I think it'd be really pretty good.
Yeah, we did. Some of the choreography we were doing was crazy. I mean, like Robbie Fairchild and all of his amazing ballet skills that he brought to it. And yeah, in the ball, we were doing these crazy choreography. And then when we watched it, we were like, and shooting a movie is crazy as well. The hard thing is we'd usually start shooting around 8 a.m. And sometimes at 9:45, they'll be like, right, we're setting up a new shot. And you never know which shot is going to get used. Like, you can never go, oh, I'm going to take it easy on this one, because that will be sod's law. That'll be the one that makes it into the final edit. So it was like full out days sometimes. And then when it got to seeing the movie and you go, oh, it didn't even make...
Yeah, it didn't even cut in. Yeah.
The cut, especially in Cats, people are going to see... A lot of people are going to see the dancing. People know it for that.
Yeah. Honestly, I love talking about it in a sense of like, I love the lore it kind of added. I think it added to the story. It kind of made it, whether you loved it or hated it, Cats was already polarizing. So the movie didn't really change that for most people. And it's where I think some of the other stuff, it's like, it probably added to it. And now you look at the talent that's in the movie. I mean, all of the dancers, the twins are in there, and then you put in all the movie stars that are in there. It is, I think it's like one of those things that will probably live on so long because of maybe some of its timing too. Like, it was right before COVID and it was a Christmas movie coming out against, I think came out against a big either Marvel movie or against something else, like the same release day.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I really enjoy hearing people's experience with it, because everyone who's done it, who was in it, had this like magical time doing it. And then people who saw it, like there's some people that saw it, it's like, ooh, it was, they had their opinions either way, but it's kind of a fun, again, lore of the movie.
Yeah. I'd see loads of comments online as well, like, because I find it hilarious. I could not care less what people think of the movie. I had a great time doing it. It was a really big achievement for me. And when people say, God, I feel sorry for these people that are in it, they absolutely shouldn't, because it's bought me a house. It's the most money I've ever made in my 10-year career. And it's bought me some of my best friends now, because it was such a bonding experience. It was hard. It's like 6 days a week. You're being picked up 5, 6 a.m. You get home at like 11:30 at night. They really buy your life from you.
Yeah, that paycheck cashes whether the movie makes money or not for you.
Exactly.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back for more of The Wrong Cat Died.
Okay, I want to talk about Kilworth House, though, because this is the first time I've really heard much about this particular production. So what I'm reading is that it was a bombed out World War II train station. Is the set.
Yes.
And you all were not in full Cats costumes.
No, we were like a hybrid between these kind of characters that would have been around back then and Cat.
And this was also 2019.
Yes. So I had the offer to do... I was still filming Cats while I had the offer to do Cats. And I was like, wow, can't get enough of Cats.
Yeah.
You wait all this time for a bus to turn up. They all turn up at once.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of, and it was an outdoor product. Kilworth House Theatre is an outdoor theatre, open air, which is kind of cool. Kind of also has its problems in the summer in England.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, the set was really cool. It looked like kind of one of our tube trains had kind of crashed and come off the rails in the back corner, and there was like things you could climb on and in and out of. It was really cool, and the costume designs were so fantastic. I think it was because it was a new production, and Kilworth House is like, they do 2 musicals every summer season. They're kind of quick, not massive budget productions. It's not things that like are being bespoke made and things like that. So actually we ended up in these kind of like skins that had kind of like if the original Cats unitards. So you kind of had fur arms, and then you'd have kind of like, I remember my costume was so thick. I had layers because as a Metis, I was like a Boy Scout. Mm-hmm. So I had one of those like canvas t-shirt things on with a necktie, but it was like a proper actual something that had just been bought off the internet canvas thing, and it was so hot on top of these skins, and I just remember it being so heavy. And because that was the first time I'd done Cats on stage, I was like, I thought I would feel more free doing Cats, but actually this is so heavy. We had these really big bushy tails, which was really cool. But yeah, they were really cool designs. And
did you all adjust the story? Like I read a little bit about how Skimbleshanks is probably a little bit more prevalent with that being his railway car versus like the powered bicycle stuff. But otherwise, like, how did you all adjust Cats in a way to fit that? Or was it the same thing and just not a junkyard?
Yeah, it was pretty much the same thing. I think had we had more time, because Nick Winston, who directed and choreographed it, has been in Cats himself years ago. Mm-hmm. So it was definitely, like, I would say, a very respectful production, like, in honor of what has been Cats before him. But also, at Kilworth, if I remember rightly, you only get 3 weeks rehearsals and then you tech for a week and open. So I think it wasn't like we had, because there's so much material as well. Yeah. Every song is danced through. There are no numbers apart from Memory where someone just stands and sings. Yeah. So there's so much material to cover that I don't think there was really enough time to like recreate or go into the depth that he would have loved to, I'm sure. So it was, yeah, I guess visually more different and the choreography was different, but the story was very, very much similar.
Similar, okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember what you were told about your character backstories for Admetus and Macavity?
Very similar. Like the characters weren't that different, I would say, even though they looked different. Like Admetus was still kind of this young, kind of teen-aged cat, quite positive attitude. Macavity was obviously horrendous. Macavity, yeah, the actual idea of the character was very, very similar.
Okay. I guess I'm curious of how much do they tell you in 3 weeks? Like, did you go into depth of that, or was it very much a be sure you're here sweating at this point outside?
Yeah. I actually, now I come to think of it, I missed the first week of rehearsal. I can't remember why.
Probably for the movie.
Yes, potentially. So I actually kind of jumped onto a moving train. They were really getting going. But from what I gather from when I arrived, it's a very similar process to how doing the original production of Cats starts.
Okay.
Like a cat movement, backstory of your characters, and also there was so much creative freedom with Nick, which I loved, to kind of figure some stuff out on your own. Like even choreography wise, when we did the Macavity fight, I remember like it's such a fun process with him. He'll suggest something and say, how does that feel? Or like, how do you feel it could do work on your body? And then you can suggest something. He's like, yeah, I love that. And it's kind of a very collaborative.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Which I love. I love working for Nick. Yeah.
Okay. So at this point, it was not Street Tugger, was it? That was what you saw during your birthday trips and stuff. But was this back to regular?
Yeah.
This is Rockstar Tugger?
Yeah. Rockstar Tugger.
Okay.
We had a guy Ollie Ormson, who played our Tugger. And it was kind of, I guess more, because Chrissie talks about it as well, about Tugger being kind of inspired by Elvis, almost. So it kind of works for like a more period piece, because that was like the rock star of his time, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, It was just kind of very similar to that vibe.
What were even similar to the movie? What were the memories of, like, what's the thing you're never going to forget from doing that production?
So obviously the English weather is crazy. We would go from like, some days we'd be on stage. It could be, honestly, like high 20s degrees, which is hot here. And you're outdoor in the open air. And you could be, I remember we finished the ball on a really, really hot day once. And because it's open air, there's no sound. So we all then go off stage and we're like basically behind the set on the grass. And Emma Hatton, who was our Grisabella, was on stage singing Mini Memory. And you can hear people behind the set retching because they feel like they're going to throw up. Because doing the Jellicle ball outdoors in the 30-degree heat is just crazy.
Yeah.
So like I'll vividly remember that. And then to the other extreme where we'd have rain, and there is like a cover over it, but you're still outdoors. And some days with the wind, the rain would be coming in sideways. So we'd be like on stage, Sam would be singing Old Deuteronomy, and the poor front of house staff are on stage mopping. We just have to act like they're not there. And it wasn't even like it was just at the edges of the stage. They'd be centre stage, mopping the stage. And it doesn't take a lot to make me laugh on stage. I'm catching people's eyes. My shoulders are shaking like crazy. So we also had one hot day. I remember we're all facing up stage watching Sam sing. And all of a sudden there's this commotion in the audience. And one by one, people start to like notice what's going on. And we just kind of crawl off. Someone had drunk too much red wine in their picnic at Kilworth House, because people come and they lay out their picnics, they have their picnics, then they watch the show. Too much red wine, and she's gotten heat stroke. She's projectile vomited in the audience across like 2 rows. Someone screams and grabs her baby out of the firing line. Like, it was so stupid. So we all just like crawl off while there's a medical emergency, and then So mostly weather-related issues.
All weather,
come to mind.
Your cat's fur was not ready for the heat and the rain and everything that you're going to deal with.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Okay, let's talk. So now it's 5 years later, and you cast for the International Tours of Swing.
Yes.
And you go to basically do it all in China, right? It was mostly all in China?
Yeah, all China. Yeah.
Okay. So talk me through the swing process of that, because it seems like you covered everybody, and I saw an unofficially covered Tantamount Cassandra. I don't know what that means.
I went off for both of those. There were just days where we were really down, didn't have enough bodies, and Carrie, the lovely dance captain, comes up to me in breakfast. The funny thing about touring internationally is because you all live in a hotel, you go down to breakfast and your colleagues are all there.
Yeah.
You've just rolled out of bed. Morning. Carrie comes up to me and she's like, how would you feel like being a Cassandra today? And at that point, it was quite early on, because our schedule wasn't too crazy, actually. We'd move to a city, we'd do 3 shows, then we'd do 5 shows, move on, 3 shows, 5 shows. We very rarely did 8-show weeks. So people were really solid. The cast was solid. Not many people were going off. So I'd barely been on. I'd gone all the way to China, and I'm just twiddling my thumbs like, can I be in Cats now? So Carrie had said, would you mind? Like, do you think? She was like, you can say no. Like, that's not your job. Obviously, you don't cover the female tracks. But I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I find a video and look, Cassandra, and on I go.
So your first time on was
no, I'd done a couple of shows.
I was gonna say.
But I was just desperate to get on, so I was like, I'll do anything.
How did you prepare for that? Like, I mean, you obviously rehearsed for covering all the other characters, but were you prepared?
Yeah.
Like, were you trained for that? Like, did they go through rehearsals for you for that?
Yeah, I mean, actually, my job before Cats, I did Matilda, and I was a swing there as well. So I kind of was used to being a swing. Mm-hmm. But that was my first swing job, and I remember finding it fairly easy. Not that the job isn't hard, but it wasn't too taxing on my brain. And I remember thinking, maybe this is a fluke, and maybe this show is just really easy to swing. And then I love being a swing. I've now done it on every job since that. Actually, Cats is the job where being a swing I've felt most celebrated and probably most prepared. Chrissie Cartwright does this amazing speech she talks through when she talks on day one about cats and the history of cats and the story of cats. It is honestly, I could listen to that woman talk for hours. I'm not religious, but Chrissie Cartwright would be the person I would pray to. But she made a very clear statement. I remember her saying about embracing the people on stage with you, and saying, for example, when Aaron goes on as Mungo Jerry, he is going on as Mungo Jerry. He's not going on as Marcus. That is then Aaron's character to do with what he wants. And so many times in rehearsals, she'd say, right, swings, do you want to pick a cat and jump in? And we'd run the ball. And then once we were getting through studio runs, she would let us all jump in and do full runs in the studio, which you don't always get as a swing. But I think she appreciates that with a show like Cats, you can't just not do it and then expect to do it, because it is so crazy. I felt so prepared. which was
so interesting
lovely.
to hear that, because like Cats is so physically demanding that
Yeah.
it feels like the swings have to go on. And I talked a lot with the U.S. tour where they were doing split weeks and all kinds of places all over the U.S. that they were frequently on. But I am fascinated by you are rehearsing and practicing for all these different characters, but then there's two other ones that could you go on for anybody basically at that point by the end of the show?
Yeah, probably. I mean, obviously, I covered all of the male ensemble cats, so that's Macavity, Cartwright, Alonso, Bill Bailey,
Mungo, Jerry, and Skimbleshanks.
and then Mungo, Jerry, and Skimbleshanks are classed as understudy covers.
Okay.
So, and then I just remember when it came to learning the girl cats, I'd been on as Cartwright, so Tantamal kind of just felt like that almost. There's not many moments in the show where they're not together, but I remember when I was on as Cartwright, I was on with Deja, who was Tantamal, and I remember just feeling like, God, I really have a support system here. Like I'm always with someone and you just always have to keep a swing eye on them, which was, so then when I went on as Tantamal, I was with Bailey, as Cartwright, and they just said to me, oh, I'll go with you. Like, we'll stick together. It'll be fine. So that was fine. And then Cassandra, I actually found the easiest because in Cats, it's so weird. From behind, everyone kind of looks the same. Like the wigs, there are a few standout cats, obviously the White Cat and Cassandra, but a lot of them are very like kind of neutral colours. So a lot of, in my mind, a lot of my formations I used to base around Cassandra, because she just was so obvious, like this brown cat. So I was used,
for sure.
So I always used to be like, oh, you're two off of Cassandra, or you're the gap next to Cassandra. So then when I went on as Cassandra, I just was like, oh, you just need to be the brown cat that you're always looking for, was kind of my theory. But yeah, so one of the most stressful parts of being a swinging cat, which I'm sure most people that have swung cats would agree, is before you even hit the stage, trying to paint your face in a new way when you're like stressed and on for a new track. Learning the makeup tracks are just as hard. Like it's such a specific skill in itself.
How long did it take you to do it?
Some of it. I mean, at the start when the swings weren't on, we would go in early and we'd say, right, let's get ready. Let's all do a face today just to get practicing. Sometimes we could take like 2 hours, which is a bit crazy because there are some people, I remember Liam, who was Armistopheles, used to come in and sometimes not even do any makeup before warm up, throw it on in half an hour, and it actually looks the same. Like sometimes the longer you take, the more you stress over the small stuff. And actually, sometimes you just throw it on and it ends up looking better, annoyingly.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But yeah.
When you went on for every different cat, like how much did you try to think about their story?
Yeah, actually, that's so interesting because obviously as a swing, there's so many other things you're trying to think about before that. But I would say I would try to think of, I would go for a character over maybe a story. I think I would try and lock into what I would know as that person's character, that cat's character, and then just try and react in the moment as how I felt natural to react in that scenario, rather than thinking, oh, when Grisabella comes on, I think Alonso would react like this beforehand. I would just make sure that I'm kind of solid in how I'm playing Alonso and just try and be in the moment and react in the right way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, kind of like you basically really leaned on like the 3 words of like just embrace that.
Yeah, exactly.
And just see what happens and like truly kind of act in the moment versus like, I used to date this cat and this is my sister. And I like that. That's
It's interesting as well because some people, obviously when you're in the show every night, people get locked into, it's quite free. When the show's set, the choreography is very set, but a lot of the moments are very free. And Chrissie does talk about the relationships between different cats, but she kind of lets you find it yourself. So then when you go on as a swing, you find people like looking for you and you're like, oh, I guess that you two must do a thing here. But then I'm very, I'm quite grounded as a person and as a swing to be like, No, I'm not just going to do what that person does because you like them doing that every night. I'm going to make choices myself so you can go with me, which that stems from what Chrissie said at the start. React to these people in their own right. So that was fun.
I think that's one of the coolest parts of the show is that it's a slightly different version every night.
Yeah.
And every production is slightly different because you have maybe some slightly different staging. And, like I've talked to a bunch of the regional productions that do it recently that, there's been a lot in the US this year and next year. And it's always like, if they're not like the diehard super fan, grew up with the 1998 movie group, it's much more of a, we're standing next to each other a lot, or we lift here in this moment a lot, or we do this together. So they make all of their decisions off of that, which changes almost everywhere you go based on how much space you have and where you're going to start placing people. I think that's a really cool part about the show. Yeah. Is that everyone has a slightly different belief on, there's a few for sure true things, and then everything else is very open to interpretation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is fun in that way because I think people probably think there's so much choreography. They probably think it feels like just going to a dance class and being a robot, but actually there is so much room to have fun and make decisions. Mm-hmm.
Did you in the 2019 movie, are you situated next to certain people a lot that you were like, I'm going to infer some relationships here with this group of chorus cats?
No, it was so random. And we'd always play around, but like sometimes they would, we'd do a shot facing this way and they'd be like, can you go and do this choreography up on that table there? Because that would look aesthetically pleasing. And then they'd turn the camera around and they'd start putting people elsewhere and they'd go, can you go over there? And someone would go, yeah, I was just over there though. And they go, doesn't matter because you're just going to be a furry ginger cat in the background. Yeah. But I mean, there was kind of a group that kind of was through it right through to the end. Like I said, that group that Andy cast, which I guess the more you spent time with people, you do start to... And he also used people to their strengths. So there were like a few boys that were like really good at contemporary and throwing themselves around, and that was not me. They were kind of always grouped together. I was like one of the more jazz musical theatre people, so I'd end up doing partner work with like a few of the girls that quite often. So yeah, you do kind of get like grouped together-ish.
Okay.
Yeah, and some of it could be a free-for-all. Like when we watched Ian McKellen record Gus, we were just kind of in the audience. People would just be crawling around, sitting to their friend who they want to sit next to. Yeah.
I feel like I'm fascinated by the story of all these characters. That's like the part I love most. And so I'm like, now that I know that there's so many more, I'm like, all right, we can write some backstories for 2019 movie here. Like there's some undefined, for sure not discussed opportunity there.
Yeah, for sure. Cat number 3.
We're going to take a quick break and then we'll be back for more of The Wrong Cat Died.
I want to do some rapid fire before we get to the obviously important question.
Okay.
So, if you could go on for one night, any cat, which one would you want to play?
Ooh, I would probably have to say Bombalurina.
I love it. Love it.
Sass.
What a number.
So, yeah, fantastic. Rhiannon Lane, who was our bomb, we went to college together, we were in the same year. She was just born to play that part. She was fantastic.
Amazing. Yeah. Who are your favorite and least favorite cats from a personality standpoint? So, like, who would you want to hang out with, and who would you bug you to hang out with?
I think Skimbleshanks would annoy me a bit. I think he's just like bossy, like always trying to tell you what to do. And I know we need this, people. I think it would annoy me a bit.
Okay.
So yeah, he would probably annoy me to hang around with. Who would I? And then I think it would be fun. Misto / when he's Quaxo. I think he's quite a fun character. He's just kind of a bit cheeky, all over the shop, and he kind of is not too much part of a group, I would say. He kind of is a standalone character.
Yeah.
Who kind of flits in and out. And I think he knows himself, he's too cool for school, bit cheeky. So yeah, probably Misto would be fun to hang around with.
I love it. What's your favorite song from the show?
Mungo Jerry Mumper Teaser.
Which version?
The like original, the big band as is in the show at the moment.
The show. Okay, that's the one I
the
know.
show.
I actually did not know like the depth of the other version until I saw the 2019 movie.
Yeah, so
And
I
then
think
I was
that's
like,
what was originally
Original
in the
British,
musical.
right? Yeah.
I just love Mungo Jerry was always my dream role. I remember in our first year at college in a musical theatre class, we had to write down what our dream role was, and I wrote Mungo Jerry. So getting to go on and play it, the music, the duet, the choreography, it's just fantastic. I love it.
I love that. So you did get to go on, right? That was one of your, okay.
I did.
So you got to,
and actually my first show, my partner Matt was over visiting. He was in China and he got to watch. It was it was actually a really big moment for me. I felt like really proud of myself. Like that show was one of my favorite shows I've ever done. I just felt like I'd really achieved what I'd set out to do. And maybe I expected to do it a bit earlier because Cats is not easy when you turn 30 and above. It gets harder and harder the older you get. But I was kind of like, I did that. That's kind of what I was always aiming for. So yeah, really chuffed.
It's got to be amazing to like have that. You wrote it down. Like this is before you're professional. Yeah. Writing down like this is what I want to do, and then to get to have that moment and to get to do it with your partner there, like with somebody you love, kind of right there with you to watch. Like how cool is that as an opportunity? Yeah. It is. You also mentioned that it gets harder and harder. At some point, you have to just be Gus. You know, like you're working your way to Gus.
I know. When I've auditioned for the show, I auditioned when I was still at college, and I was up for Corkpat and probably a Mungo cover or something. Sometimes they asked me to do some turns in second for a misto. This is the first time ever I'd gone in and I'd done the Mungo and Rump stuff in the morning, done another dance call, and then Chrissie was like, "Oh, can you stay again? Sorry." And they heard me sing Skimble, and then so when I got the Skimble cover, I thought, "Oh, that's a little new age bracket I did there." But it's fantastic because it's so fun, and just not something I ever thought I'd do, but not as backbreaking as something like Misto or Mungo is. So.
Yeah, that's so great. Yeah. So you've been in two different, like I would say, two of the more unique variations with the World War II set and the movie. Yeah. So if you were going to put Cats in a non-junkyard, where would you put Cats? Like, what would be your dream place to put Cats in a non-junkyard?
Ooh. And we are still Cats.
Yes, still Cats.
How would we do Cats? I wonder if you could do it more like not jungly, more jungly and more like wild Cats vibes.
Wild, okay. So like a Amazon rainforest type of vibe.
Yeah, almost. Maybe that could be quite cool. I've never thought of that actually. I guess that would be something different to the junkyard. Or you could do it in one of those cat cafes that people love going to visit.
Did you get to go?
No, actually. Oh well, I don't know. It's quite inhumane, I think, in China. But so many, you'd be walking around so many malls, and there's just windows with cats in cages, and they seem happy enough. I guess they don't know any different, but yeah, you do see a lot of cats actually in China.
Okay. $1 million question. Obviously, my show is centered around the idea that I don't think Grisabelle was the right Jellicle choice. So I want to hear you, Aaron. Who would be your Jellicle choice and why?
I know. I was thinking about this. A lot of people say Gus because obviously he's old. I don't feel like Gus needs it. In my head, I think Gus is it feels like Gus has lived many lives already. Mm-hmm. And he feels very satisfied with what he's done. So I'm not sure Gus needs the new life. And then everyone else that's kind of, I guess, up for it. Again, I don't feel like they kind of need... You might hate me. I think I'm going to say Grisabella probably is the right choice.
Okay.
I was thinking about this. I don't know what I used to think, or even still now, I never really envision her as dying when she goes. It's not like how I
in my I remember when I was younger, I used to watch it, and she goes off up wherever she goes. I used to have this idea that basically these are all the cats playing in the junkyard or whatever, and when she goes, it's kind of this like really high camp version of basically a human or the cat's owner has just kind of found them down an alleyway and picks up the cat and like it's like takes them away.
Okay.
But we see it as this big like thing, but she's actually just the humans come in and taking her away. I feel like that's what I used to envision when I was younger.
That's a very wholesome kid version. I like that. That like the you find the cat, they're gonna go home to like a much better warm place now. Okay.
Yeah.
Because my question still, I guess a lot of this centers around what you think the Heaviside Layer is, or where, like, if she's being reborn, does she come right back? Because where I struggle is I don't want her to leave her family that just accepted her back. I want her to have a year with her family.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you. I don't know though whether, I guess people like Gus and I guess like Skimble. I think probably in my head, I think when you're reborn, you come back and you're still aware of like relationships you had in the past life.
Okay.
Or like bonds are kind of these natural. So I think probably even if she was reborn, I know people, like a lot of people think that Victoria probably as the youngest is like a recently reborn cat.
Yeah.
Yep. I imagine that you would, when she comes back as a Victoria or whatever, she is already aware that this is like her family and her tribe. So maybe it's not so wasted.
Yeah.
You know?
The 2019 movie does not do that argument justice, though. She seems very lost when she gets thrown in there.
Yeah. Fair. I'm not sure how much they'd thought about that. The story there with that.
No comment. Okay, I'm not gonna. I think like if you're going off of need, and then yes, it's probably her more than anybody. Maybe Old Deuteronomy, you could argue, but I think that's like a lot of this depends on that, which is like what you believe the Heaviside Layer is and what you believe is next. So yeah, I'm not gonna change everyone's mind, but I'm trying to change enough people's minds. Yeah. That's my goal.
Who is your choice? Who do you think? Do you have a definitive answer?
My definitive answer right now would be Gus.
Okay.
And I think for the reason purely is that I don't want Grisabella. I want her to have that moment. Like I want her redemption arc. I want the whole story. But there's been a lot of productions recently that have like said this is her daughter that's like reaching out to her. And I'm like, great. Let's spend a little time with the group that just welcomed you back. My original joke was I saw the 2016 revival and it was Leona Lewis. And so I thought it was the X Factor. And I was like, well, the X Factor makes boy bands. So I wanted Tugger and Mistopheles to go together to win the boy band competition. So I still think there's some merit to that. My dream, and I've said this a million times, so I'm going to keep saying it until someone finally does it. I want an audience vote because I can only imagine that you're touring and all of a sudden you're in your hometown and you've got 200 friends and family members there. And all of a sudden, like, Tantamile goes up because of the audience reaction. I want that.
Yeah. No, I get you. That would be so stupid. Banners made. Pick Mungo Jerry.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of fun. It really leans into the competition part of this more than the family story that's, like, told.
Yeah. I don't know who I'd say is actually legitimately up for being reborn, because I remember there's, like, early in the show, after we've done who will it be, and then there's a bit of you kind of make up your own stories. And I remember someone saying, maybe Chrissie saying something about Mungo Jerry going up to Monkstrap and saying, could it be me, and Monkstrap saying, don't even be ridiculous, like not even a real option. So I don't know if it's only the people that have done these X Factor audition production numbers.
That would put Mungo Jerry and Rebel Teaser in it. Because that's actually how when I first started this podcast, I did it off of the numbers. So I was like, each person that sang a song about them is or even were in it. So like the Bombellier and Demeter were part of Macavity.
Yeah.
Like that, they're up for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've seen some other productions, like regional productions recently. One really only said Gus, Jenny Any Dots, Grisabella. And I think maybe Skimble, or, like there's only a few, like they really narrow it down to some of the older quote unquote kittens.
Yeah. I think maybe like a lot of them are like Old Deuteronomy or Monkstrap are like presenting these people for the rest of us to watch. So when Jenny Only Dots does her number and when they bring Gus out, it's like, right, it's this person's turn to have a go. Whereas maybe some of like Mungo and Rump, everyone's gone off and they're just being idiots again. So theirs isn't so much of a presentation. I guess the same for Bomb and Demeter. Theirs isn't really.
There's just trauma dumping
exactly.
on the audience.
I actually feel like Demeter could probably do with being reborn because she's got a lot of anxiety and hurt going on. She could do it another go.
Demeter has very few votes, and I agree with you. I think she's deserving. She has 3 total votes. I mean, right now it's Grisabella and Gus are 1 and 2. Yeah. And then Old Deuteronomy is next. And then I've got Mistopheles, Macavity are pretty close. The Mistopheles is skewed a little bit by the Jellicle Ball, the ballroom cats, because that Mistopheles got a lot of votes. And then it's Macavity, Skimbleshanks, and then there's a lot of like 1 and 2s, and all of those are mostly people just voting for who they played.
Yeah. I don't think Macavity deserves it.
Macavity's argument is for the betterment of the tribe is if he's gone. And so almost everyone that's argued Macavity has argued the tribe is going to be in a better place if we get rid of him.
Yeah, fair. So it's them being selfish, saying let's kill this cat for us.
Exactly.
Yeah, fair. I guess maybe I haven't thought too much about it because, like I say, in my head, I don't see when she goes off, when she flies up into the abyss, I don't picture her as dying, maybe.
Yeah. Well, most people have not thought about this besides me, who's spent way too much time thinking about this. But that's what I'm here for. You're going to probably hang up and you're going to now think about it for a while. And then you're going to send me a message being like, actually, I thought maybe it's this person. Yeah. And that's my goal, is slowly to get to the right people to where someone does a production where Grisabella gets to spend the time with her family.
Yeah, fair. I think maybe it's because I think she's desperate. She wants it. Whereas Gus seems content with the life he's had. I don't know if he's on life 7, 8, or 9, but
totally.
he seems happy and chill.
Yeah. Well, this has been really fun to hear all the versions. How can people stay in touch with you on social media and other cats and non-cats things?
I am really just on Instagram. I mean, I have a TikTok account to watch fun videos, but I don't really post anything. So just on Instagram at Aaron David Jenkins.
Amazing.
I do have some cats content on there. I love cats. I'm a cat super fan.
Yeah, well, hopefully I don't know what's after the cat trick, if there's a 4th version.
Well, there is another version of Cats happening in the UK next summer, I think. And I said, another production of Cats. Maybe it's something I fancy. I love it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So keep going. And
exactly.
until you get to the point where they're like, all right, you're ready. You're auditioning for Gus. Then it's but you're not there yet.
No. But if I do another production of Cats, I'll come back on to see if my answers have changed.
Yeah. I want to come to rehearsals. That's the key. It's like, let me come to the rehearsal process and say, here's what you all need to be thinking about.
If you could listen to Chrissie Cartwright talk about cats.
Oh my God, it's a dream.
Honestly, it's me and my friend David, who was one of the other swings. We just always used to be like, I'll drink the Kool-Aid. I'll drink it. I understand why so many people return to the show and do it. So like some people that I've done, Gavin Eden has done it for so long. People love it. It's amazing.
Yeah. I got to finally meet Gavin after talking to him so many times when I went to see the tour in Germany.
Oh yeah.
My fear with hearing Chrissie is that it's gonna end the show because I'm gonna be like, okay, your argument makes sense more than mine, and so I'm not sure I'm ready to hear her explanation yet.
You should see if you could get Chrissie on the podcast. That would be amazing.
Chrissie and Andrew Lloyd Webber, Trevor Nunn, like that group to me is the end. Like that's gonna be the last episode I ever do because they can definitively answer my question. Whereas everyone else is like, there's a lot of experts I've talked to who really know this, have done it a lot, but they're not the the original people that really could tell me, no, here's why you're wrong, and here's how we thought about it. And so they will. I've always joked they'll be my last episodes.
That would be fantastic.
When I'm ready to end this show, they're the ones I'm going to be pushing hard.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on and sharing your experiences. It's been such a fun episode.
Thank you for having me and giving me somewhere to talk about cats, because I can't.
Yeah. There's always certain friends that you can have this conversation with where
Exactly.
other ones are going to look at you like you're crazy.
There are so many people, if you haven't been in Cats, they roll their eyes and go, oh, cats. But then the people that have been in Cats are always like, yes, cats.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, thanks for coming on, and thanks everyone else for listening to this episode of The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. To follow along, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any else listen podcasts. Follow us on social media at The Wrong Cat Died, or check our website, thewrongcatdied.com.